Hello, this is a unusual setup for me, but I really don't want to take the time to make a PowerPoint and to sit down and actually record stuff, so I'm just gonna kind of voice my thoughts. So obviously, generative AI has been a giant thing. It's been a really big focus of venture capitalists. It's been a giant focus of startups looking to pivot. It's just been this um, very consequential product within the tech industry, and I feel one of the attributes that made it that is ChatGPT's super fast adoption. And I think it feels like within the tech industry, it's been a little bit stale where smartphones are kind of slowing down. Like, we have the App Store, but we've also had the App Store for a while. Like, there's not really been a lot of shakeup or innovation in social media or like the tech industry from the consumer side besides TikTok, right? So I think the push for it has come from this place of really wow, the tech industry has created something that is beautiful and that captures the attention of people and that feels like the magic that we've always wanted tech companies to bring us. And so one of the things that I wanted to discuss is AI doomerism and all of this crazy pretty much talk about AI and talk about what the actual harms will be. And so for context, I do not directly work with AI. I know of AI, I know how it works. I've built some machine learning models. It's not my day-to-day job, but my day-to-day job does involve designing user safety critical software for a lot of different people, for a lot of different things, sometimes for my own nonprofit, sometimes for the startup that I'm a CTO of, sometimes as a consultant for other people like PBS and Godiva. So I've been very actively thinking about okay, software and harm, right? And so something that I'm really frustrated by is with all of this doomerism talk around AI, I feel like it's blinding us so much that we're just failing to see any of the harms right in front of us, and we're failing to take action steps because we're thinking so far forward that we're not thinking of what we can be doing now in the moment, right? So I went to an event in San Francisco last month, and it was about generative AI and the harm it could create, and it was hosted at a really prestigious campus. And I was honestly kind of I was not impressed with the event. First and foremost, because employees from the Fang company treated it as a free lunch exercise. And so a lot of the discussion around the event was just create a generative AI to go on Tinder for me. It wasn't very productive. And near the end, I went up to someone who is head of ethics and AI at a very large, recognizable company that pretty much almost everybody uses. And I don't want to name them because I feel like it's kind of a shitty thing to talk to them in private and then to name it. And so I went up to her and I specifically said, hey, I work with a lot of these groups who are going to be affected by generative AI, like domestic violence victims, abusers are going to use generative AI to go to their friends or to go to government agencies and try to get information about the abuser, or to basically maybe create fake nude photos or create fake text messages between the abuser and the victim. And also on the mental health side of things, I've been building mental health apps since 2015. I'm really acutely aware of the implications that come with building for users that have mental health issues and what that could look like. And one of the biggest issues to me is chatbots just encouraging people to kill themselves. And so I went up to this person, I said, hey, this is my background. I'm really concerned about it. I'm trying to figure out how to prepare my users for it. How do I help people who are being negatively affected by generative AI? And her response to me was basically talk to the government about it and encourage policy and encourage legislation. And at the moment, I was yeah, she's a pretty, she's very impressive. And I think she was 100% correct, but I also feel her response and the greater response of AI doomerism 100% fails the problem of this is here and this is happening now, and we don't even have like a national database of the models and the harm they cause. Like we don't even have a database like that for tech in general. We don't have like tech companies making individual plans about like, okay, here's what our users will do like if generative AI hurts them, right? Like we have ChatGPT basically saying like, oh, like don't trust this information, and kind of like putting in a few keywords so people can figure out that it's like an AI model. But I feel like we're really like missing the elephant in the room when we're having these discussions about like AI is going to do this, and this, when we're already seeing the shortcomings of ChatGPT, and we're already seeing how it's starting to affect people, and there's just like no movement. There's no action. There's no general consensus on like, okay, let's not think about like 50 years in the future when like generative AI is like huge and like AI robots are like coming for us and like shooting stuff at our heads. It's all just like people who are somewhat in the industry but who are not being affected by generative AI in a negative way, talking about what they feel like will be the issues, as opposed to talking to users who are already using generative AI and already using like other AI tools about what they want, right? And so, if anything, that is my biggest frustration, and it's something that I really wish that like everybody would kind of like figure their shit together out on. Like I feel like OpenAI and Hugging Face and like everybody else involved could easily be like, okay, let's do like a joint face, like collaborative, like incident database so that people feel safer, and so that we have next steps, and so that we can talk to companies and we can go to companies and say, if you use our product and it fucks up, you can tell your users to come to this specific place. But instead we're sitting here on Twitter, blue check marks abound, most of these people having like never worked in user safety critical issues, just being like, well, I guess we should unplug all computers. Like I feel like it's just so reductive, and I feel like it also gives people a false narrative about AI, and it kind of like undermines it from actually becoming something that people trust and something that people engage in, because we refuse to take it as a serious threat. Like I talk to people all the time who are like, oh my gosh, AI, that's so scary. And it's actually like the underlying technology is just math and it's just computer science. Like it's not sentient necessarily. And I feel like when we give people these AI doomer scenarios and we back them up with a bunch of people who think that they know what they're talking about but really just have reach and scale as opposed to actual credentials, then we're setting up the public for failure, we're setting up these AI companies for failure, and we're setting ourselves up for failure because we're just not discussing the issue in the room instead of tackling the things that we actively can and actively should. So in wrapping up this video, I am going to go do drugs outside. And so I just wanted to end off on, if you are thinking about this, like actively ask yourself like what steps happen or what steps are in place to protect users. Like how can I go to my local police department and like talk to them about it? How can like my company like implement like incident databases or incident logs so that we can start tracking this? Like, is there pipelines in our customer service, like channels to make sure that people can like talk to this and get it figured out and get like directed to the correct resources? Because I feel like we're just going to be sitting here talking more and more about like, what if AI hacks into the Falcon 9 when the real issue is like, what if an AI encourages a school shooter and gives the school shooter information, right? Like, what if AI keeps on telling people to kill themselves, or like tells eating disorder survivors to cut more calories, which are things that are like kind of already happening. So that is the end of my ramble. I hope you all had a chance to listen and had a chance to kind of understand where I'm coming from. And I hope we stop treating this as this abstract futuristic threat when in reality it is a tangible thing that we can wake up and make progress on right now. And the doomerism is probably like something that we should think about, but it shouldn't be center stage at this point in time, because we're in adoption and we're in the process of integrating this into a bunch of different products and a bunch of different tech stacks. And the last thing that we want to be doing right now is just like just like let's try to let's try to plan for right now as opposed to plan for a future that we think is going to happen based off of our doom scrolling. So that is it. Stay safe. I love you guys. Bye.